wonderful welcome to all. I'm Esther Buerki, the passionate creator behind the book Living Without Fear, which has touched many lives, and the co-creator of the Amazon best-selling Inspired Journeys. If you're eager to explore a world of endless possibilities, you've come to the right place. Know someone who could use a dose of inspiration from today's episode? Feel free to share this podcast with them. Please stay updated by subscribing to my newsletter, joining me on YouTube, and kindly leaving a brief review to this episode and rate the show with a sprinkle of stars. Your unwavering support truly warms my heart, and I'm deeply appreciative of each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. And today I'm so excited to have Sascha Mueller with me. He's originally from Germany and living now in Portugal. He is a professional athlete, personal trainer, and international master trainer for various training methods. As a result coach and business trainer, he works daily with clients worldwide. With qualifications from Robbins-Madanes and Tony Robbins, he has logged over 2,000 coaching sessions. His life experience is shaped by both professional successes and personal highs and lows. In his free time, he enjoys serving, training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or playing golf, always striving for personal growth. Welcome to the show, dear Sascha.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So, Sascha, what has been your turning moments in life?
Wow, my biggest turning point, the first thing that I am thinking of really is one specific moment in between two coaching sessions I had with my very first coach back then. And it was a summer day. I was sitting on my balcony. I was reflecting on my previous coaching session, and it really was the realization of what we call the human needs, right? There's something which we call the human needs, and it's really how you address certain needs that you have. And based on that coaching conversation I had the previous day or some days before, I had this breakthrough moment, this distinction, this big aha moment, which really, the bottom line was, wow, if I keep going like this through my life, yes, I'm gonna grow old and that's gonna be some life, but it's really not gonna be a fulfilling life. I am simply choosing the wrong vehicles, the wrong methods really to fulfill my needs. And it was such a big aha moment that in that moment, that day, it became clear for me that to have a fulfilling relationship, to be living in a beautiful place, to be feeling different about my experience, I have to go forward in a different way, fulfilling my needs. And I know at this point this might sound a bit mystical or not tangible, because what is that? What are we speaking about, the needs here? But that's to answer your question. That was my biggest turning point for sure. Yeah.
So what did you do before your realization? What did you do wrong or?
Yeah. I would reframe it to, I didn't do anything wrong. I did it just the way I did it. And that was my life. And it was a great life before my journey as a coach nowadays. What I did was I prioritized a lot of variety in my life. I was okay with things ending. I was okay with every week something new. I was exposing myself to new ideas, new businesses, a lot of variety. That would be the one word that really describes that one need that everyone has in a way. We all strive for some certainty, right? We want to feel safe in some way. We want to avoid pain. That's that one need. Then there's the opposite of that, which is almost like a paradox to the first one, which is the opposite, and that's variety or uncertainty. And imagine that as a young athlete, as a pro skateboarder in my younger life, that was my number one, of course, that was my need that I fulfilled every day. I was getting up as a young boy, skating, getting out on the street, doing competitions worldwide later on, competing. doing championships, X Games, World Championships, winning German championships. So there was so much variety in my life that was fueling me. And that is also what you need to grow and to be really grow and experience personal growth. And at the same time, I was I was in for too much of that. I was okay with things ending. Meaning also, for example, personal relationships, intimate relationships. I was at a point in that stage of my life where if I looked at my relationships back then, it really meant, yeah, if this ends, it's gonna be okay because I know there's something else out there. And with that mindset, that really the distinction I had back then between those two coaching sessions, that moment I just referred to was really, wow, if I go forward just accepting change that easily, not committing to anything really, I'm never going to have a fulfilling, deep relationship. It was such a big moment for me in
Mm.
that day.
Why was it so scary to commit to things for you?
I'm not sure if it was scary or not. I've never learned it any other way.
Mm.
That is, I think that was more it. And since I've never learned it any other way, I never saw anything else as a viable option really for myself. And there was, I never learned it any other way. And looking back at my childhood, how I grew up, of course, that was the input I received as a kid with all the love from my mom. I was the only child. I got all the love I could possibly get. And variety was one big part of how I grew up. And so there was nothing I did wrong. It was the non-commitment to anything that made it very difficult to have any roots develop into life.
Mm. And what did you commit to after that realization?
Yeah. The the breakthrough moment there for me really was that going forward, if I continue living like that, I'm not going to have a deep relationship with anyone. I'm not going to have a deep root somewhere with my family, friends, in any relationship really. So I made it a point for me to really understand how was I fulfilling my need for variety in that case in the past. And then, because nowadays I know through my own coaching work back then, you can't just simply stop one thing. So if there's one thing that needs to be stopped or that you want to change somehow, you want to break a pattern in a way, you have to be aware of it, and then you have to think, okay, well, if I stop that, what am I going to do differently now? How do I replace that? Is that a thought? Is that some like identity concept? Is that a new idea for life, a new vision, a new purpose, right? So for me, there was a new vision, which was I'm in for a really nice, fulfilling relationship. I want that. And I didn't know why that didn't work for me before until that day. Because that
And
day I realized that, well, I'm just okay with things ending. I'm never going to be really committed to anything then.
and how long did it take then?
I don't really know the answer to that. That was a process of, for myself sitting there having this realization, this big aha moment, and then the next day is journaling about it, speaking to my coach again about it, and then also speaking to my now wife. Because at that time
Ah,
we actually had a breakup of about a year or so, like
ah,
close to a year. Because before that, I was at a certain mindset, I was at a certain spot in my life, point in my life, and things between us didn't work out at that point because we had different life visions. There was nothing wrong with the two of us, it was just different life visions. And then I had this turning point. We started speaking again. Funny enough, she had similar experiences in her own development, me not knowing about what she did at that time. So we started speaking again and we came back together like to speak about certain things and we realized, wow, holy shit, like you really have this is like a completely different version that we're speaking to each other here. Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It is one of the best things that happened to me, I would say. Yeah.
And
Because
what
there's so much
else?
fulfilling. Yeah.
And what else did you change?
What else did I change? I want to say almost everything. I want to say almost everything because because
Tell
once you
me.
do, yeah, because once you do understand how you fulfill those needs, right? And to be more specific, I'm referring to something that Tony has in a genius way simplified for everyone to look into. Tony Robbins, I mean, with that. Um, Everything has changed for me because I know that before that day, I knew that I'm happy if I get to travel around, if I get to compete on a weekly base, if I get to do my sports, all of that, a lot of variety, right? So that was my life before, and I did know that I'm happy if I do all of these things. What changed a lot then was, okay, now I have this understanding of me fulfilling my needs in a certain way. And if I don't chase that next dopamine hit, or if I don't chase the next sensation by going after some competition or something out there in this outside world, I have to make sure I experience that in another way. So, what changed for me to answer your question really was that something I had within me already for some years before, working as a personal trainer, as somebody who was educating other trainers, was to really create change in others, also to create impact in others, to make others feel better about themselves. That was me working in the physical environment as a trainer, owning my own gym. And a long story short here, contribution is that it's also one of the needs to contribute something to society, to others, right? To pass something on. And I did feel that as a trainer. I knew that when I was traveling somewhere, this is what really drives me. This is what motivates me, what inspires me to, despite low sleep or whatever, teach for a full weekend and give it my all, because I know that these trainers who learn from me, they go out in their villages, into their cities, and they pass on what they learned from me. That was my motivation. And to answer your question, what really has changed then is I changed how I addressed my human needs altogether. And my focus then went from variety to growth for myself, like to really continuing to develop myself, to be learning, like going forward, and then also to pass this on. And these, these couple of thoughts, they have allowed me to, ever since then, I'm in a different space. I'm in a very fulfilling space because I'm learning every day. I'm getting to have amazing conversations with beautiful souls like yourself, and to pass on these learnings through my activity as a coach, through my conversations I have with my clients every day around the globe. And just this morning again, I had another beautiful client. It just makes me happy every day to speak to my clients. It's really contribution what drives me nowadays.
Mm, beautiful. And Sascha, there are so many mentors and coaches in this world. Why did you stick to Tony Robbins?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And in the beginning, I really did not know the answer to that. Nowadays, I know. So my journey with Tony started around about 2014, I would say. And back then I saw him on YouTube. I saw some of his videos, some of his shares, and I was somehow fascinated. And I didn't know why. I really looked at these videos and I thought, why am I fascinated by this huge American guy who's dancing to music I would never actually listen to myself? What draws me in here? And I kept coming back to his videos, and at some point I stopped wondering about it, and I just went with the flow because apparently there was something that really drew me in, that caught my attention. Nowadays, I know, to answer your question, nowadays I know that Tony has this magic way of speaking about really deep things in such a practical, pragmatic way that addressed me with a kind of language that spoke to me. If at that point, 2015, 16, I would have listened to somebody who would speak maybe in highly esoteric spiritual terms, just the language back then would have been something that maybe pushed me away a little bit. But since Tony used a different language, it was something, okay, he addresses that. I didn't know that he really addresses these deep things in his language. And that is what really drew me into his universe, into his teachings, into his programs. And that was for me the vehicle to learn about really deep foundational things that allow me a fulfilling life nowadays.
You mentioned now twice deep things. What
Mhm.
is it exactly? What do you call deep things?
Mhm. What I mean with these deep things is really to be working on your own spirituality, to what it means to be, right? Because we're all so caught up in the doing, and that was me to a big degree as well. To a very big part in my life, I was just caught in the doing, doing, doing. I was a human doing much more than a human being. I was figuring out the next best to-do list and how can I structure myself to answer the maximum amount of emails in every day. To I had several businesses and I was just chasing something there. Like I was just doing, doing, doing without the deep connection to the purpose behind it, which then gives you a different energy about everything. The vision and the purpose without just chasing these to-dos on a daily basis that just make you empty at some point.
So, Sasha, what are you doing differently today as a
Mm,
being and not a doing person?
yeah. What I'm doing differently today is I'm really focusing on being present as much as I can. And it's this fine line to walk between, yes, there are things to do. I have a vision for my life, for our life, and I want to achieve many things in my life. And at the same time, I'm not going to stay there with my focus for too long because I really only have this present moment. And so nowadays, I'm focusing on being present with the feelings from what I want to achieve in the future. I see myself there already. I work on the things I want to achieve. I bring this here in the here and now. And then with that feeling, I am starting to create the life I'm currently having, which a few years ago was really just a dream. And it doesn't feel like I'm chasing something, I'm doing, 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 but I'm really being fully present here and now, having this beautiful conversation, feeling conversations when I'm speaking to other people, being present with others. Because you never know. Every day that I wake up, and every day I wake up, I look from the top down to my toes. It's a fucking amazing day. Sorry for the language here, but it's an amazing day. You're alive. It's a reason to celebrate. So these moments of celebration, of daily celebration, being present with others, knowing that the now is always really the only moment that you ever have. And even tomorrow morning, it's never guaranteed. That has brought so much gratitude for every and each moment into my life. And gratitude, that's like the recipe then to be really in a great state, in a beautiful state.
Mm. And life is happening sometimes, life is hectic. How do
Mm,
you
mm,
focus or get yourself back into the present moment every time you need it?
mm. Yeah, life happens, that's right, and life gets hectic. Well, I'm using the tools I have learned over the years, and some of them are I'm focusing on what is inside my control. I don't focus on what has happened. I look at what it is and then never catastrophize it. Leadership. I take leadership of the situation. I never make it worse than it actually is. And then I work with what I got. That it is some of the things that really allow me to be in a great place mentally, emotionally, physically are really so simple. It is so like one of the easiest recipes to be really feeling good about any situation really is that is these patterns of focus. Like, do you focus on what you have or do you focus on what is missing? Do you focus on what's inside your control or what is outside your control? What other people said about you, what other people did, other people's actions, the weather. It doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't matter to my life. So I'm working with all what I got, all right, instead of what I'm missing and what is inside my control.
And if someone is listening and thinks, oh, this
Mm,
is so hard, where shall I start?
yeah,
What would you say, Sasha?
that's a good question. And one of the first things that comes up when you ask me this really is Know that there's a way, and you might not see the path in its complete picture in front of you. But as long as you keep your head up, as long as you know everything happens for a reason, you might not be aware of that reason, right? Everything happens for a reason somehow, and even, what if the exact way things happened for you, it's the best way that can be happening for you right now. So that is one way to go about it. And another, just one sentence statement that comes up here is, nothing has the meaning except the meaning that you give it. That is one of those sentences I've, at a certain time in my life when I became a coach, that was one of the sentences I heard day in, day out, day in, day out in one of my educations. And that has also fundamentally changed my life because it's your choice. It is every given moment, it's your choice. And yes, of course, somebody that is listening to this might think, yeah, but what if that happens? And then I'm thinking, this and this. Yeah, it's certain patterns. You've gone down these patterns, these synaptic firings so many times over a lifetime. It might take a few repetitions to rewire for you. It might go quick if you have the right reasons, just like I had that one day, that one summer afternoon on my balcony, connecting the pain to going forward in the same way and really finding what's my why going forward. It can go super quick if you find your reasons like that.
How quick can it go?
In an instant. If you have the right reasons, if you feel it, if you connect the thinking with an emotional reason, with pain, with everything else that pulls you forward, it can go in an instant. I've seen that with my coaching clients worldwide in so many cases. And with others, it takes practice, because here's the thing. Everybody, you and I, my wife, and whoever I speak to, we all have a different tempo. Some of us, we need some more time to analyze, to think about it, to find more reasons, to go into reflection, to meditate about it. For others, done deal, decision made, never again the same way. Yesterday I spoke to one of my clients. He has turned his life around, huge business behind him in within a couple of weeks since we started working. It's just phenomenal. Really, sometimes things can go so fast, and that is also why I love being a coach, because contrary to therapy, for example, this is not saying good or bad or anything here. Contrary to therapy, where you just go back, you spend some time in the past, sometimes more time, and you relive, you reevaluate, you see why things are a certain way, and then you bring it to the present to then find a way to go to the future. Well, in coaching, we look at the here and now. We find your compelling reasons. We find your motivation, your inspiration, your how you address your needs. And guess what? Sometimes it's really in an instant that things change for you. Both works.
Wonderful, Sascha. Something which we didn't touch yet, and you would like to tell our audience?
Something I didn't touch on, I would like to tell my audience here, or our audience. It would be the one thing really, that the investment into yourself, if that's a book, if that's an audiobook, if that's a podcast, just like this, if you feel something that speaks to you personally, like I felt back then with Tony Robbins, this has been the best investment ever, to then continue going forward and learning about myself, learning about practical psychology, bit by bit by bit. If you feel any of this speaks to you, pick a book, pick a podcast, speak to yourself, speak to myself, reach out, have a conversation how you can go forward and learn more, because living really is, it's about growing. And if you're familiar with some of the universal laws, life supports life. And it really, everything in this universe either grows or it goes the other way. So it is meant for us to grow, to learn. If any of this speaks to you, find a way for yourself to learn a little bit, and then take that one step at a time and continue to do so.
Mm. Wonderful, Sascha. And one last sentence you'd like to give to the universe, to to everyone who needs to hear it?
Yeah, here's something, it just came up and I thought about it this morning as a preparation for this, not knowing that this would be a topic. For many of us, it's a big topic to think about the purpose in life, right? And I have these conversations many times with my clients. And many people shy away because it's this huge question. What's the purpose? What's the sense of my life? Well, if you're at that point and it's too big of a question, really make it a temporary statement for yourself. Pick one area of your life. What's my purpose here for the next week as a husband? What's my purpose for the next 2 days as a father? What's my purpose for the next week as a business person? And then take it from there, because that connects you to a vision and that connects you to the energy I spoke about before, which will make things much more effortless going forward, fulfilling.
Thank you so much, Sascha. Has
Thank you,
been
Esther, for having me.
wonderful. And thank you, dear listener, for spending your precious time with us today. And in case you feel worthless and nobody seems to like you, we tell you, you're amazing, we love you, and you are a gift to everyone who crosses your path. And please tell yourself these sentences over and over again. Have an amazing day and talk to you next week.